You know that feeling, right? That awful sinking feeling when you've poured months, maybe years, tons of resources into a new product or service, and then right at the finish line, you find some massive fundamental flaw.
Oh, yeah. It was like building a whole house. Everything looks perfect, paint's dry,
Hmm.
and then the final inspection finds a huge structural problem. Devastating.
Exactly. That's the kind of wall so many organizations hit, where the crucial expertise, the insight that could have spotted the issue way earlier, just arrives too late.
Right. It creates bottlenecks, last-minute scrambles, drains resources. It's incredibly frustrating.
But what if that whole cycle, the frustration, the delays, the fixes, what if it was mostly avoidable?
Hmm.
What if the same people who catch those problems late could actually help prevent them from happening in the first place? That feels like this huge untapped potential. And that's exactly where this idea shift left comes in. It sounds simple, but it seems like a really transformative way of thinking. It promises to empower teams, smooth things out, and, deliver genuinely better results.
It really does.
So our mission today is to really unpack what shift left means. Why is it such a powerful approach, especially in product and service management? And how can it actually empower you and your teams? We're basing this all on the great source material we looked at.
And sticking with that house idea for a second, imagine the building inspector,
Yeah.
the one spotting the bad wiring right at the end.
Yeah.
In a shift-left approach, that electrical expert is basically looking over the blueprints with the architect. They're saying, hang on, this wiring plan won't work before anyone even cuts a wire.
Ah, okay, so it's proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. It's that jump from firefighting to fire prevention. That's the core power of it.
Okay, so let's really get into it. Shift left. At its heart, what are we actually talking about? Is it just moving tasks earlier on a timeline?
Well, yes, literally, it is moving tasks that traditionally happen late in a process much, much earlier, shifting them left on that visual timeline.
Hmm.
But calling it just a procedural tweak really misses the bigger picture. It's actually a profound shift in culture. Think about traditional models, maybe like waterfall project management. Teams often work in silos, right? Design does their bit, hands off to development, then QA tests, then maybe audit reviews.
Right, very sequential, pass the baton.
Yeah. Shift left kind of shatters that isolation. It forces, or rather encourages, collaboration by bringing those key players, auditors, QA folks, support teams, into the early discussions. Their expertise isn't just checking work after the fact. It's actively shaping the outcome from the beginning.
That sounds great, almost.
Yo,
Suspiciously great. We always hear about the constraints in product management, the iron triangle, right? Faster, cheaper, better.
Yeah.
Pick two. Does shift left somehow break that rule, or is it more about optimization?
it's not, a magic wand that defies basic principles.
Yeah.
But shift left does fundamentally change the dynamics. It lets you make significant gains in all three areas at once.
Really?
Well, think about it. By shifting activities earlier in your product or service management process, you get faster overall implementation because you're heading off those end-of-project delays. You cut costs dramatically because you avoid all that expensive rework and patching later on.
Okay.
And you inherently prevent mistakes that would have been way harder and costlier to fix down the line. So yeah, the quality improves too. Having audit or QA involved early isn't just about finding problems, it's about embedding compliance and quality right from the start.
That makes sense. So let's make this concrete. What does it actually look like in practice? Let's maybe use some examples from the source material. How about audit and regulatory compliance teams?
Okay, yeah. Traditionally, these teams often step in right at the end, like a final hurdle. They review the finished work, and if they find issues, well, everything grinds to a halt.
Yeah, cue the delays and the frantic rework. Been there.
Exactly. But with Shift Left, they're not just a final checkpoint. They become partners from day one. Imagine them in your initial product planning meetings. They're identifying potential regulatory risks or compliance gaps before you've even written a line of code or designed a screen.
So they're offering solutions early on.
Precisely. And the benefits are huge. You prevent that costly rework, obviously. But also, the whole team develops a much deeper understanding of the requirements. Final reviews become smoother, almost a formality sometimes. You get faster delivery, fewer compliance headaches later, and importantly, stakeholder trust goes way up. They're helping you design for compliance, not just check for it.
Okay, so bringing compliance expertise in early avoids those regulatory nightmares. Does the same logic apply to just the basic quality of the product or service itself? How does shift left change the role of quality assurance QA? Usually they're just seen as bug finders at the end, right?
It completely reframes QA. Instead of being the last line of defense focused purely on defect detection, Shift Left makes QA an enabler of quality throughout the whole life cycle
An enabler.
by having them contribute way earlier. During planning, looking at initial designs, maybe even user stories. QA folks have seen it all, right? They know where users get tripped up, common failure points, weird edge cases.
Mm.
So imagine a QA person in an early design review saying, hey, based on testing similar features, users often struggle with this kind of button placement. Or this workflow looks logical, but people tend to make this specific error here. Let's tweak it now.
Ah, so they're leveraging their experience proactively.
Exactly. It prevents future user frustration and strengthens the solution before it's even built. It elevates QA from being perceived as just a gatekeeper to being a really valued partner throughout the whole process. And, this proactive approach has a really interesting knock-on effect on documentation, too.
Oh, documentation, the thing everyone knows is important but often feels like a chore tacked on at the very end, usually rushed and not that helpful.
Right. It rarely lives up to its potential.
Does shift left actually help make documentation better, more useful, or just faster?
It's more about making it organically useful, less of a separate, painful task. When you shift left, documentation becomes part of the actual workflow.
How does that work?
Teams capture insights and decisions as they happen. Maybe it's a note in a shared document about why a certain design choice was made, or a quick update to a technical spec in a wiki. It's real time.
So it's less effort overall.
Much less effort than trying to reconstruct everything weeks or months later. And the output is far more accurate and useful. It's not just static documentation. It becomes this living record, maybe a dynamic wiki or shared space, always reflecting the current reality of the product, a reliable resource, not an afterthought. And this connects directly to support teams too. Think about it, they have such a wealth of customer insight.
Absolutely. They hear all the complaints, the confusion, what actually breaks in the real world.
But usually they only get involved after the product is launched and the problems are already happening.
Yeah, they're dealing with the consequences.
With Shift Left, you bring support professionals into those early design and planning stages. They can say, look, we get tons of calls about X with similar features. If you design this new thing this way, we can avoid that whole class of problems.
Wow. Okay. So using their insight to prevent future support load.
Exactly. It ensures the solution is designed with real-world challenges and actual customer experiences in mind. Reduces future support tickets, definitely, but more importantly, helps create products that genuinely meet user needs right out of the gate.
It feels like the benefits go way beyond just making things run smoother or hitting compliance targets. What are some of those broader impacts for the teams and the whole organization?
Oh, the ripple effects are huge.
Yeah.
You obviously get less rework, fewer delays, more predictable workflow. That's big. But think about team morale. When everyone's expertise is genuinely valued from the start, people feel more connected, more ownership.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like when an engineer's early feedback prevents a showstopper bug or a support person's input cuts down future complaints significantly, that's incredibly validating. It fights burnout.
Mm.
And it naturally fosters that cross-functional collaboration we talked about. It breaks down silos, encourages open communication. Plus, frankly, getting all those different perspectives early on often sparks way more creativity. You just end up with better, more innovative solutions faster.
And maybe surprisingly, AI can actually help with this. How does AI fit into the shift left picture?
Yeah, it can be a real accelerator, actually, especially in, say, Agile product management. AI tools can automate some of the repetitive, time-consuming tasks that might slow down early stages.
Like what, for example?
Well, imagine AI analyzing early requirement documents or design mockups and automatically flagging potential compliance issues like a GDPR concern before you've invested heavily.
Okay, interesting.
Or for QA, AI could generate basic test cases directly from user stories, freeing up the human QA experts to focus their skills on the really complex, nuanced testing scenarios. It doesn't replace expertise, it amplifies it, making Shift Left even more powerful.
Right. So if someone listening is thinking, okay, this sounds compelling, I want to try this, where do they start? How do you actually begin implementing shift left in your own work, your own product or service management?
It really starts with just observing. Pay attention to where those late-stage surprises keep happening. Where are the bottlenecks? Where do you consistently find flaws or run into stakeholder frustrations near the end?
Find the pain points first.
Exactly. Once you've identified those areas, the next step is invitation. Proactively bring the teams whose expertise could help. Maybe it's audit, maybe QA, maybe support into your earlier processes. Invite them to planning sessions, retrospectives, key design reviews. Start small, maybe pilot it on one project or one feature. Don't try to boil the ocean.
And how do you know if it's working? What should you look for?
You'll see tangible signs, fewer major revisions needed later on, smoother handoffs between different stages or teams, and honestly, improved team satisfaction. People generally prefer preventing problems to fixing them under pressure. But it's crucial to remember, shifts left doesn't mean you eliminate end-stage validation or testing. Those final checks are still vital.
Right, it's not about skipping steps.
Not at all. It's about enriching the entire process before that point, using expertise that was maybe sitting on the sidelines. It makes those final checks less about finding disasters and more about confirming quality and readiness.
This has been really insightful. It really drives home how moving expertise earlier isn't just a minor tweak. It can fundamentally change how products and services come together.
Right.
It's about building in quality, building in compliance, building trust right from the beginning, and fostering real collaboration, empowering teams. It feels genuinely transformative.
It really can be.
So, for everyone listening, maybe take a moment to think about your own processes. Where could bringing in expertise earlier make the biggest impact for you? What's one small change you could make that might unlock some of these improvements? Could it be how you kick off your next service design or manage the next big iteration of your product? We really hope this deep dive into Shift Left has given you some valuable food for thought and maybe sparked a few ideas you can apply. As we mentioned, the source material we drew from for this discussion is linked right there in the description. We definitely encourage you to check it out for even more detail and keep exploring this concept. Thanks so much for joining us today.